So welcome everyone. I know we still have some people joining, but we'll let them kind of trickle in while we do some housekeeping here at the beginning. So I just want to let everyone know why we're here today. We will be reviewing WellAware's COVID response since the COVID crisis happened and what we've been working on the project side and here in the US, and also talk about different ways you can get involved. So we're really excited to get to talk about this a little bit more today with everyone and get everyone a little more hands-on with our work right now. I also want to go over some housekeeping before we really dive in here. This is a Q&A webinar, so if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the Q&A box, and we will have a section at the end where we go over all the questions and answer any that might not get answered while we're talking. So now I'm going to pass it off to Sarah to introduce herself, and we'll get rolling here.
Hi, everybody. We're really excited to be here with you guys today to get to answer your questions. I am Sarah Evans. I'm the founder of WellAware and the board chair of WellAware, as well as the founder and CEO of Well Beyond. And we're really grateful for everybody who is attending today, so you can help us spread this message and answer some really great questions.
Awesome. And I'll introduce myself. I'm Kareece Sacco. I'm the executive director of WellAware, and I'm going to be leading our discussion a little bit today. So before we really get going here, just for anyone who might be new and doesn't know that much about WellAware, we're going to give a brief background of WellAware and also Well Beyond, if you don't know who they are yet. So WellAware, we are a clean water nonprofit founded by Sarah Evans and working strictly in East Africa right now. We've been in Kenya for 10 years and moved into Tanzania a few years ago. So we have a 100% success rate with our deep borehole drills, rainwater catchment systems. We rehabilitate broken systems. But since Sarah is our founder, I'm going to let her tell a little bit about how she got this nonprofit going a little over 10 years ago.
Yes, it has been over 10 years. Yes, and I since we might have some new friends on the call, I think it's important to talk just a minute on how the organization was founded. So my background is not in a nonprofit, I guess it is now, but previous to the creation of the organization, nor was it in clean water. But I met somebody who was wanting to raise funds to replace some cattle and goats in a community in Kenya about 12 years ago. Was recruited to help to create the legal structure for taking donations. But I got really involved with the project, and I realized that the livestock were not surviving in this region because of the drought, because they didn't have clean water, and that there were many other heartbreaking issues in the community because of the lack of clean water. So we redesigned the entire project to be the drilling of a borehole. And we didn't really know what we were doing, but we've raised the funds with our first shower strike in the summer of 2009, and we flew to Kenya in January 2010, and we drilled our first successful borehole. Admittedly, we got lucky. We've learned a lot since then. And we have been doing realistic, community-led clean water projects ever since.
That's so great. And yeah, just for our annual gala we had in December, we celebrated the 10-year anniversary of the first ever borehole drill, which was really exciting. So wow, Sarah, did you think 10 years later we'd still be here talking about all of this?
Yeah, shortly after the first project, I did know that it was something that was going to last, and we were going to continue to do this work and improve on our work until the work was no longer needed. Yeah.
That's so exciting. And I will say Sarah is she has an extremely contagious personality, and everyone who meets her immediately wants to be involved with this organization. I will say it happened to me. So she has recruited just a huge following and group here that's helping to make this work possible. So if you're watching and you're one of those people, thank you. And thank you for starting this, Sarah. So also, y'all heard us mention Well Beyond, and this is maybe a bit of a newer name to some of you. And I'll let Sarah speak a little bit about exactly what Well Beyond is and how they're playing a role. Well, we'll get to it later, but we'll talk about how they're playing a role in our current initiative as well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to it a bit. So what we realized early on in the organization and Well-Aware's work is that the majority of water project infrastructure that's implemented in developing regions actually doesn't work. The statistic is that only about 40% of the water wells in Africa work. So we designed Well-Aware to answer to that issue. And that's why, as Kareece mentioned earlier, Well-Aware has a 100% success rate. And that's water system functionality, which we think should be a given. We are also consistently and continuing to serve the intended beneficiaries of every project, and we have maximum impact for every project. So as soon as Well-Aware began to increase project capacity, almost doubling every year, we realized that there was this bigger issue surrounding our work, and that was this failure rate. And because of our expertise, we could probably tackle it in a different way. So we decided to create a separate entity to do programmatic and technology work for the water sector, and we designed it as a for-profit so we can send the profits then back to Well-Aware. So we have been working in some consulting capacity, more specifically, and Kareece will talk more about this later, but we're working on digital solutions too for the water sector to better connect beneficiaries with implementers and collect really key data that's going to be really important for this sector for years to come.
Yep, it's really exciting, and the digital piece is really what we're going to dive in here in a bit, and what is really supporting our current initiative right now. So thank you, Sarah, for that. So I do want to speak a little bit about how COVID has been affecting Well-Aware. I know that no one has been able to avoid the effects of this disease and how it's spreading globally. So Well-Aware really started to feel the effects very early on due to the fact that our work entails international travel. So as soon as the travel restrictions started to be put in place, we actually had team on the ground in East Africa, Sarah being one of those team members, ready to implement a new drill for Well-Aware. So it was going to be a brand new drill implemented mid-March. But as soon as those travel restrictions got put into place, we realized we needed to get the team home to avoid them being held anywhere or delay them getting home in the long run. So I'll let Sarah speak to that for a minute, since she was over there, and kind of what that looked like from her perspective.
Yeah, so some of the technical team and I were in East Africa, in an area that was very off the grid, and we were not really being consistently and fully informed of what was happening rapidly in the world around us. We woke up one morning to a flurry of texts and WhatsApp messages and emails about the potential closures and obstacles around travel getting home. Before we could even wrap our heads around it, the incredible Well-Aware team had already arranged for our departure home. And so we responded quickly in that way. It was heartbreaking, though, too. As Kareece said, we had a really important project lined up, a new drill in a community for Well-Aware. So revisiting a new timeline for that and communicating with all our stakeholders was difficult, but we are so thankful to the Well-Aware team for their ridiculously speedy and prudent response to the crisis.
Yeah, that was a high stress evening, but we got the girls home safe, and immediately having to cancel a water project was difficult. And of course, now we've had to cancel more as this crisis continues. So in addition to the project side of things, we also had to postpone our largest annual fundraiser called Shower Strike, which I'm sure most of you have heard about. So right off the bat, we had to make some really difficult decisions in all parts of our work. But luckily, we have an amazing team. We call ourselves change managers, and we've really been able to adapt quickly to this crisis, which has been really amazing to see the team and also our supporters pivot with us. It's been very inspirational the last couple of months, getting to work on everything and pivot as needed. So, before we really get into the current initiative, I would like to hear a little bit more from you, Sarah, about how COVID is affecting our communities and people in East Africa as a whole. If we're feeling the effects here, they must really be feeling them there. So if you could speak a little bit about, how our team on the ground is coping right now and what we know from our communities at the moment.
Right. Yeah, so the projects team and I are keeping very close tabs on the developments in East Africa and our partner communities. So we're in on a chat and getting updates several times a day about the lockdowns and restrictions happening in Kenya and Tanzania and beyond. We launched a very comprehensive survey of our communities a couple of weeks ago in preparation for the campaign we'll talk about here in a minute. And we understand now that even in our very rural partner communities, almost everybody understands that this is happening. The problem is nobody really has access to the knowledge about the prevalence of the virus, not just in our communities, but in these countries as a whole, because testing is mostly unavailable. That said, we do anticipate the incidences of the virus and people with illness to peak within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And that is why this campaign right now is so very, very important for our partner communities in these countries.
Yeah. So these communities we work with normally just on clean water projects are extra vulnerable right now. So of course, when this hit, Sarah and I started brainstorming, how can we support them through this crisis? We have our staff on the ground in Kenya in lockdown. They're not able to travel in and out of the cities and get to our partner communities. We also didn't want to risk spreading the disease to our communities by trying to get our team out there. So, there's a lot of moving pieces here. But while we're all on lockdown here with sinks in our home to wash our hands to help combat the virus, what can we do to support these communities that maybe don't have that? So we started brainstorming, and we knew that this was the perfect time to speak to every one of our communities and see what sanitation and hygiene practices they're currently following, see what they know about COVID and the spread of this disease, because a lot of these communities lack easy access to this important information that we get so easily on our phones every single day. Constant exposure to this news that they might not have that constant exposure. So we actually had our Kenya team start making calls to our communities to see what they know and see what practices they're currently following. While Sarah and I talked more about the WASH piece and how we can get this information to them. So Sarah, do you want to talk a little bit about how we came to the conclusion to use the Well Beyond app and technology to start getting this information into our communities? This is really powerful. We're all so excited about it. But if you could just talk about it, how it works, and what it's going to look like from the community side and for our Kenya team on the ground who's helping to run this project.
Yeah, and the Well Aware Kenya team has been phenomenal. They've been conducting all the community interviews and collecting all of the data. So we realized that even though Well Aware does, as a matter of procedure, conduct water sanitation and hygiene training in every community during implementation of a new project, that now more than ever we needed a more robust packet of information to get to these communities. Not just because it needed to be COVID specific with the new restrictions and guidelines, but also understanding how important it was that people who don't have sinks and don't have face masks or even familiar with the concept be able to create these things on their own with materials that they already have. So Kareece kept telling me that we got to get this WASH information out. Well, Catherine Bergman and I and the Well Beyond team have already been working on this technology. we realized that we could build this WASH content into the app we were already creating and get it out to these communities in real time, and not just provide them with the information, but create an engaging, interactive content full of various different modules that people could take courses. We can understand their baseline knowledge and then their education gained after each module, and then provide ongoing real-time chat support with our Nairobi team and these communities, because a really good majority of younger Kenyans do have smartphones, and almost everybody has a cell phone. And we have SMS in the app, so we can get messages and provide chat support to our communities whenever they need it, and provide real-time updates and push information as we get it, so we can ensure that they have it. So we're really excited. And I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I was telling her about this new technology. Of course, she's familiar with the technology, but our pivot around this, and she said, but I know that I'm supposed to wash my hands, and we have the sink. And I helped her understand that there are other mothers and children in these areas that understand that too, but they don't currently have the resources or the information to be able to create these systems and this infrastructure to protect themselves and their children. So now she's helping me build the app and work out the bugs, and she's been playing around with it, which is a really great indication of how user-friendly it is, because my 8-year-old kid has mastered this app.
It is very user-friendly. I've been able to click around in it too, and the way that Well Beyond has pivoted to do the wash piece in this app now is just so powerful. And just, being able to see the steps to make your own hand washing station, to make your own soap, and fill that information gap for these communities is so powerful. And I'm really excited about it. And I know our communities are as well. And I think one of the most powerful pieces of the way we're getting this information out there is that it's interactive, right? So we get to see who's using the app, what modules are being done, the trainings and the steps being taken, and the knowledge learned.
Yeah.
While our Kenya team is sitting at home and able to provide real-time chat support, which is just so incredible.
Yeah, and I think it's so important too that we're leveraging technology and resources that are already available there, not just in the people making their own hand washing stations and face masks, but the mobile technology is so prevalent, and the Wi-Fi is debatably sometimes better there than it is here.
Yes.
So we're leveraging that, and we're getting it out fast, and we're getting it out in real time. And at the same time, WellAware is going to be able to track engagement and keep tabs on the chat dialogue. So we're going to be able to report impacts of this program in real time to the people who contribute to our work here.
Yeah, it's a really powerful tool, and we're really excited to hit the ground running with it. So, now that we have this new exciting tool that we can use to help our partner communities combat the spread of COVID, this is where you come in. So anyone watching this webinar, we have launched a emergency wash fund, which will enable our Kenya team to be able to get this information into our communities, to provide real-time chat support. They have been calling all the communities before the app goes out. They have been helping to gather the information that these communities need, and they will be on call at all times to help answer questions for these communities as they work through the trainings. So this fund is so very important to this new initiative and helping to protect our partner communities. Our goal with the Wash Fund is to raise $150,000 by June 1st. This will allow us to get this information into every single one of WellAware's partner communities. And remember, we've been working in East Africa for 10 years. So we have long-lasting relationships with these communities, and we have a lot that we have partnered with and are involved with every day. So reaching this goal is so important so that we can get this information to everyone. Of course, we won't be able to guarantee that every single person in every single community will get this information, but we will be tracking that closely and hope that it gets dispersed as widely as possible. Sarah, do you want to speak to that piece a little bit about how this information will get out and how we're tracking how many people are receiving this training.
Yeah, and I don't want to confuse the message too much, because the app itself is actually really user-friendly and intuitive and quite pretty, thanks to Catherine Bergman. But we have two different levels of user access, and one is a trainer and then the other is a general user. So we are sending out the app, which will be available in the app stores for free download in both Google and iPhone. And the trainer is able to repeat the module as it were open for the first time every time and collect the number of people they're conducting training with. Now, that said, we do provide very, very strong reminders that people do need to maintain social distance and abide by the guidelines that are also included in our app. But that way we're able to harvest the information about everybody that's participating in the training. At the same time, we do have a version of the app that anybody can download with the user ID that's attached to that community, so we can understand who in that community is using that version of the app, and go through the training with their homes or their children at any time and repeat any module at any time.
It's so great. Yeah, we're going to be able to reach a lot of people with this, and it's so exciting. So again, that goal is $150,000 by June 1st. And I know that we are all going through tough times right now. We have all felt the effects of COVID. So, we understand if this isn't a good time to give right now, but we do ask if you have some time to help share the word about this campaign. This is an easy way to make a tangible difference right now and help protect others against the spread of COVID. This is a very powerful moment in history where we are all coming together and doing our best to help others. And this is one way you can do that. I guess now we will move on to our question and answer section. So let's see if anybody has sent in any questions. Let's see. Well, it looks like a lot of them are have already been answered while we were talking. But I think this is one that we can actually talk about a little bit more. Sarah, one question is, why are communities so vulnerable? So why are our partner communities extra vulnerable to this disease?
Right. So it's hard to wrap your head around if you've never traveled to these amazing places, but they simply do not have the infrastructure. That's one big thing. So they don't have readily running water from faucets in their homes. They also do not have access to information. So that's another another key point about the program that Delaware is launching. Our teams cannot travel to these communities, and government officials have very limited contact with these communities if they're out there at all. So the information is critical, the knowledge is critical, the updates are critical, and that's what this app solves for, because their vulnerability does lie in their lack of access to this information, the updates, and then the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Next question we've gotten is, how will we know that this project is helping? So how will we know that this app is working and the information is being distributed correctly?
So we know the app is working if it doesn't break. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so we designed this tool so that we could understand baseline knowledge of not just COVID, but disease transmission in general, and then DIY infrastructure to help further protect them against the spread of the illness. We're gauging that just by interaction with the app. The program also tracks on the back end the time spent on the app, as well as the dialogue of the most frequently asked questions. In the app, we will be automating some responses based on those most frequently asked questions, but we'll understand how many people are taking the app, how much time they're spending on the app, what kind of friction they're having in each module, and what their education gained is. We'll also continue to be updating the software in the app as we see these issues come up. So we're excited about the administrative portal and what kind of metrics we're going to see and impact we get to report to the donors who help us make this happen.
Yeah, the being able to report on that is such a powerful piece, and I'm excited to start seeing that information come in. One question that just came in and is related to the metrics in the app is, are you able to gather info from this app that helps to identify water supply needs for when things get back to normal?
Yeah, so people can ask any kind of questions in the chat support. And because we have relationships with these community members, we'll understand when we're getting a request or a need a response that we need to catalog for when we're able to do water project implementation later on. This version of the app right now does specifically address water, sanitation, and hygiene as it relates to COVID and the best defense we know to offer. But the same technology will be able to, we're going to use this format to roll out additional tools that our communities are going to be able to use to support their water supply systems going further. And those include maintenance checklists and diagnostics. And we're excited about that too, because in this digital way, we're going to be able to not just track our community improvements and needs, but further support them in the best way we know how, especially as we get more projects onboarded. And we physically cannot get somebody out there just because we've done so much great work.
Exactly. And we've talked about this a lot as a team, that once things go back to quote unquote normal, this is a tool we'll be able to use forever, and as our project capacity grows. So we're excited to continue leveraging this for years to come. Great question. Okay, another one. Are you still implementing water projects? So I can give the short answer. During COVID, no. But yes, that remains the heart of WellAware's mission. And once things go back to quote unquote normal, and it is safe for our team to travel and safe for our Kenya team to be back in the field, we are excited to get back to implementing water projects. But for the time being, just for the safety of our team, we cannot be implementing these projects. Sarah, do you want to speak a little bit more to that?
I can. I want to make sure everybody understands that we are in communication with all of our communities. So if there's something that's dire, we're making that work creatively, but we are unable to dispatch any of our contractors or our team. Our team is literally not allowed to leave Nairobi at this time. So unfortunately, we have had to hold on all of our implementation work. We are making sure the community's needs are met, but we are chomping at the bit to get back out there and do some work as soon as we can. We're itching to travel back.
We are all very eager to get back there. It's like our second home over there, and we miss our team, and happy to report they're all doing well and safe at home. But yeah, we're excited to get back there and start our regular programming up again. Some more questions coming in here. Are there any COVID cases in the communities we support? And I know, Sarah, you spoke to this a little bit. With lack of testing and information out there, we don't have any reported cases yet, but we're not hearing anything from the calls our team has been making out there. No officially reported cases. That's a great question.
Yeah, there's no testing capacity in our partner communities at this time. Even the larger cities, Nairobi, Mombasa, and Nanyuki now have limited testing. So the results we're seeing is really quite limited and not truly telling of what's happening in East Africa right now because of the lack of testing. But we're keeping a close eye on that, and as much as we can, we're tracking symptoms that are being reported.
Okay, and I'll do one more question here, and we have one last one in the chat. What are some specific ways you can help right now? What will make the biggest difference for the WASH Fund? So a couple of the ways we would love for you to help if you can. One would be to donate. We are trying to reach our $150,000 goal by June 1st. That will allow us to get this information into every single one of our partner communities to help them fight COVID. Another huge piece in helping with this WASH Fund would be to share it. Use your time to post on social media. It takes 30 seconds to share a WellAware post to your Instagram story. Just get out there, share, get the word out, call friends, text family members. anything it takes to just let them know about this pivot in Well programs and see if they're able to help right now. Awareness is everything to get the word out about this campaign and how we're pivoting. So thank y'all for these questions, and thank you for your time today and listening to what Well Aware has been up to and how you can help. Before we sign off, just to close us out here, I want to let you know that you can learn more about this campaign at wellawareworld.org. And you can click around and learn more about the app and how it works. You can always directly reach out to Well Aware too and ask questions, and find our campaign page to donate and share. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Well Aware World. Again, please help us to get the word out about this campaign. It is so important for our work and our pivot in programs right now. So thank you all again for joining today and everything you do to help us empower these communities in East Africa. You are making a huge difference in the lives of others, and we are all so very grateful for you. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye-bye.